I'd like to welcome everyone to the Middle Tennessee Sierra Club, How to Become a Naturalist program. Our presenter tonight is Laura Smith from the Owls Hills Nature Sanctuary, a 300-acre habitat located in Williamson County in Brentwood. She's going to tell you about their programs and specifically about their program for becoming a naturalist, a certified naturalist. So here is our agenda for the evening. We're going to do a brief introduction of Sierra Club, County of the Month, and then the presentation. And of course, we're going to have an interactive Q&A session. So think about your questions. If you have questions during the presentation, just type them into the chat, and we will pull them out of the chat when we get to that point for the interaction. There's also a little section on what you can do. Laura's actually integrated a deep dive into her presentation, so that part's going to be, it's part of her presentation. So, and then the June 10th program and some closing thoughts. So let's talk about Sierra Club. Okay, Sierra Club has been around since 1892. We have approximately 3.8 million members around the country who support and defend everyone's right for a healthy world. The Middle Tennessee group has 3,597 members and covers 29 counties. We host group hikes and outings, which are unfortunately, they're on hold right now until July 21st because of the pandemic, but you know, that's only a couple months away. So start back up again soon. We also provide educational, environmental education programs like this one. We work on a variety of conservation issues at the local, state, and national levels. And we take an active role in addressing conservation issues in public forums and encourage others to do the same. Here are some links to our social media sites for just our general website for the Middle Tennessee group, our Facebook site, Twitter, and Instagram. And Mahir is going to put them into the chat. So if you want to go ahead and befriend us while you're thinking of it, go ahead and click on there and friend us on the site. And also go to the website and become a member. You get a lot of very interesting information. There's daily, weekly updates on various legislations that are going around the country and around Middle Tennessee. Very interesting. Okay, so since Owls Hill is in Williamson County, we chose Williamson County as the County of the Month. Since we have 29 counties, that sort of makes up, it's a large area, and we all sort of wanted to learn a little bit about each county, and we're slowly branching away from Davidson County. Last month was Davidson County, this month is Williamson County, and now we're going to start getting into all the rural counties, coming up in the next few months. So this is Williamson County. Williamson County is located here. In the topography map, it would be located somewhere right around here. Okay. It has a population of 238,000. It has a population density of 376 people per square mile. I thought this was interesting. They have found two Mississippian mound complexes that are called, one is called Fuchs Site, which was built in 1050 to 1475 AD, so it's pretty old. And then the Old Town Site, which was built 900 to 1450 AD. Those are places that you can visit. I think the most interesting part of this is their descendants are not, their DNA are not associated to the current Native Americans. But as time went on, there were also various tribes that lived in Williamson County: the Shawnee, the Chickasaw, the Cherokee, the Choctaw, and the Creek people. European settlers arrived in 1798 and the county was established in 1799. I guess that area was after the Revolutionary War, the new American government gave that land away, divided it up to not Civil War, but Revolutionary War soldiers. So it had very, very good agricultural land. So by 1850, that was its primary industry. And so that was prior to the Civil War. And unfortunately, there were also 13,000 enslaved African Americans in that region, who made up nearly half of the population of more than 27,000 people. That's in 1850. When the Civil War occurred, there were three major battles: the Battle of Brentwood, the Battle of Thompson Station, and the Battle of Franklin, which had some of the highest fatalities in the entire Civil War. Some of the cities and towns in that region are Brentwood, Fairview, Franklin, Spring Hills, Nolensville, Thompson Station. It is also considered the wealthiest county in Tennessee. It is I don't have it written here, but I'm pretty sure it's around either the 14th or the 17th wealthiest county in all of the United States. So the entire area is 584 square miles. It has, which is equivalent to 373,000 acres. And, where Davidson County had 4% water, Williamson County has 0.2% water. It only has two rivers that go through it, the Harpeth River and the Little Harpeth River. There are no lakes and dams. It is, located in the northwest section of the Central Basin, or the Nashville Basin, which I showed you just a minute ago. This is the Central Basin, and it's located somewhere right around there. It's primarily limestone substrata. There are 32 caves, and there are 2 mines. Abarimi, I'm not even pronounce it. You can read it yourself because I don't want to mess it up. But those 2 mines in Davidson County, in Williamson County have these various mineral extracts from it. So that's Williamson County, and here's a list of the parks in Williamson County, and here is what it looks like in general. I could not find a map that actually located the map. It's not like Davidson County had a very nice website that you could just link on and it would bring it in. This one, I couldn't find one that did that for all of the parks. So this just shows the major cities, and you can look up these various parks when you get an opportunity. So that is Williamson County. Let's talk about our presentation today. Our presentation is by Laura Smith. She's going to talk about how to become a naturalist. She is a naturalist herself. She works at Owls Hill Nature Sanctuary, which is in Williamson County in Brentwood. She has worked with birds from all around the world as an intern at the Cincinnati Zoo. She has worked at Walden's Puddle, rehabilitating native wildlife in Jolton, Tennessee. Laura just loves to share the natural world and encourages people to go outside, get muddy, listen, and just watch the magic unfold. So, Laura, thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge, and we look forward to hearing how we can become naturalists.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you so much for inviting me to the Middle Tennessee Sierra Club this evening. And I'm so excited to share Owls Hill with you. So Owls Hill Nature Sanctuary, we're Stephanie said, we're 300 acres in Williamson County. We're near Brentwood. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our history and our programs, and then specifically our Tennessee Naturalist program, which is a program that's available to adults all over the state. And we have a chapter here. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means. But first, welcome to Owl's Hill. When you arrive at Owl's Hill, this would be the first thing you would see. So this is a little glimpse of our ponds, our meadows, and then some of those limestone ridges that you would find in Williamson County and in Middle Tennessee. And like a lot of Williamson County, this Owl's Hill is former agricultural land. It's primarily used for cattle. And we also have a old orchard, and there were some other uses for it, but it was primarily used as a cattle farm. But the story of how Owl's Hill became Owl's Hill began in 1959 after Huldah Cheek Sharp donated her family farm to become Cheekwood. She and her husband purchased the land that would become Owl's Hill. And they named it Owl's Hill because after they finished their house and sat outside at night, they could hear owls calling, great horned owls calling from the ridge. And they said, we must have built our home on the Owl's Hill. And her vision for the property was for it to become a sanctuary for the plants and animals. So about 10 years after they purchased the property, she put covenants on the land so that it would remain a sanctuary. The property was controlled by UT for a period of time. Primarily, again, it was used for cattle. There was also some planting of trees for saw timber during that time. And those trees are actually still there now. We have a population of loblolly pines there that were intended for that. And she wanted it to truly be a sanctuary, to be a preserve where wildlife could flourish. So in the 80s, Cheekwood took control of the property again. And then in 1988, Owl's Hill Nature Sanctuary was founded. Our first director was hired. Trails were built. And the Owl's Hill started to take shape. We developed our education program. We started forming our purpose and our vision for what the property would be and what Owl's Hill would become. And in 2007, Owl's Hill became an independent not-for-profit, and it's no longer under the control of Cheekwood. We are run independently, and we have, through a lot of support from the community. So currently, in 2021, we have been providing education programming, habitat for wildlife, and a place for people to come and experience nature now for 33 years. And this was the original property of Owl's Hill. This is kind of the bird's eye view of it. So when Owl's Hill was founded, it was 128 acres of meadows and ponds and some young forest, and then on the ridge, some more mature forests. If you look at that topographic map that Stephanie shared, you'll see some of those ridges, and on the south end of the property right here is one of those. And about 5 years ago, Owl's Hill doubled in size. One of the neighboring families, they also have put their land in trust, and wanted to make sure that it would remain as undeveloped land. So when you put land in trust, that means that you can't do certain things with it. It has to remain as wildlife habitat or agricultural land or whatever the trust specifies. And the Sugg family that had their land in trust gave that land to Owl's Hill so that we could expand and also protect this property. And there's some dense forests and some more ridges and some echoes of the agricultural past as well, some old field habitat that can actually be really important for birds and pollinators. And once a lot of the land was a typical savanna prior to European American settlement in the late 1700s. The land was kept open by burning either through indigenous peoples or through wildfires. A lot of this land was used for hunting by the indigenous peoples of what is now Middle Tennessee. And by burning this land, they were able to keep it open for hunting game like deer and wild turkey. And Owl's Hill has our mission is to provide a sanctuary for nature that inspires exploration and lifelong environmental conservation. And we envision a world that values and protects nature. And one of the best ways that we've found is to help people explore throughout their life, give people a place to explore from the time they're very young, throughout their adult life. And we love our school programs. We have field trips. This year, we've branched out and done virtual experiences for students who weren't able to visit because of the pandemic. We've done outreach for schools where we go and visit, and you can see our one of our animal ambassadors has come to a classroom to meet the students. And we also do programs for students who are homeschooled. Scouting is also a big part of our youth programming. Scouts can come to Owl's Hill and camp out or earn a badge or explore Owl's Hill at night with an owl prowl. And also capstone projects like Eagle Scout or Gold projects. We have been incredibly lucky throughout the years to have scouts who have improved habitats and built picnic tables and a mini amphitheater. We actually had scouts out restoring a structure today at Owl's Hill. And we have summer camp for kids from 5 up into their teenagers who get nature-based play, exploration, a lot of free play and exploring the creeks and the forests and the meadows. And then also we have for teenagers, we have for 12 up to, I believe, 17, we have animal caretaker camp for teens who are interested in exploring potentially a career working with animals or wildlife. And we have professionals come in and talk about their jobs working as vets or as wildlife biologists. Then we have programs for families and for adults. We have guided hikes, wildflower hikes. They're all nature-based and help people explore, learn more about animals and plants in the natural world. We have one you can see where people build bat boxes. and also bluebird boxes to promote wildlife habitats at their own homes. And at Owls Hill, we do a lot of conservation, habitat restoration, and protection. When we have sensitive species, we target those areas for invasive removal and protection. We do citizen science, wildlife surveys, plant surveys, bio blitzes, and then you can also see we try and use some of the methods that our plant communities have adapted to. We do controlled burns of our grassland areas to keep them healthy and to provide an open habitat. And so our really instrumental in a lot of our programming are naturalists. So I'm our staff naturalist, and we also have a lot of volunteers who serve as naturalists in our education programming and our citizen science. But what does this word mean? If you've ever been to a program at a nature center or a state park, you might have met somebody who introduced themselves as a naturalist. There's a little bit of a difference between a naturalist and a ranger. Rangers a lot of times do a lot of the same functions as a naturalist: education programming, habitat management, conservation. But rangers are generally state or federal employees who are also law enforcement officers. So a naturalist does the habitat management, the conservation, and the education. The people who have those job roles, but without being necessarily a state or federal employee or a law enforcement officer. But naturalists have a few things in common. To be a naturalist, you're an observer of natural systems. You see those relationships between the plants and animals, between the geology and what is happening, with the plant communities. And you share, a lot of times naturalists love to share what they know and what they've learned. A lot of times through experiential and hands-on public programs, guided hikes. A lot of naturalists are also writers and communicate that way. But naturalists, we love storytelling, helping to share those connections through narrative. And you have to know a little bit about a lot of things, about animals, plants, ecology, botany, geology, and a lot more. I always say in my first volunteer naturalist role, they said, you have to be a kilometer wide and a centimeter deep. And something really important that naturalists do in communicating these relationships and observations is to foster a positive connection with their audience and the natural world, encourage learning and appreciation and enjoyment through experience and observation, and to inspire wonder and empower people to care for nature. So often we hear, habitat loss and all these things that are happening, all these things that are harming the natural world. And when you start to learn how a healthy system functions, then you can make those choices and help people understand choices that they can make to improve the health of the natural world. And I always say that being a naturalist is a lot like being an artist. It can be your job. Being a naturalist is my job. I go to work and I'm a naturalist. But when I go home, I'm a naturalist too. I always am curious and I want to keep learning. and that's a quality that all naturalists share, is you're always asking, why is this happening? What is going on here? And that care and respect for the natural world, and that's a lot of times born out of these observations. I see what's going on around me, and that makes me appreciate and want to care for it. And a lot of learning these skills of being a naturalist is communicating in a way that people can understand, that and that inspires wonder and awe and excitement. And helping people see these connections and feel this, I want to know more. And whether this is your job, this is what you do on the weekends, whether this is maybe something that you want to learn more about, seeing if maybe you see yourself in some of these qualities. And Tennessee has a program for adult learners who want to learn and share Tennessee's nature. This is it's called Tennessee Naturalist Program, and it was founded in 2010 to provide a structured program for people who want to learn more about the flora and fauna of Tennessee. Owl's Hill had the first Tennessee Naturalist chapter, and at this time we have over 300 people have gone through the program, who've logged over 10,000 classroom hours and 12,000 service hours. And people come to the Naturalist program for a lot of reasons. Some people have a science background. This might be their profession, and they want to get involved in some more informal programs, an informal or experiential education. And some don't have a science background and just think, I love being outside. I love sharing the outdoors. I want to get involved in conservation or outdoor education in Tennessee. Some people, we have a lot of people who say their parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles or care for young children, and say, I want to be able to share this with my family or the young people in my life or the people I care about, and I want to learn more, and be able to say, I know what that is, when someone says, what's that tree, or what's that bird, what's that rock? And there are Tennessee Naturalist chapters throughout the state. So I know a lot of there might be some people here who aren't in the greater Nashville area, and there are Tennessee Naturalist chapters at other state parks and other nature centers throughout Tennessee. So if you're not near Nashville, there might still be one near you. And I'll have links at the end of how to find a chapter near you and get connected with them. And the Tennessee Naturalist classes are taught by experts who work for state agencies, for local not-for-profits, universities. And some are graduates of the Tennessee Naturalist program and have really dug in and become an expert in that area. And part of the Tennessee Naturalist curriculum, 40 hours of classroom and field instruction. So we break that into 10 classes. They're generally 4 hours in length, and they cover ecology and geology, the wildlife, the plants of Tennessee. We do a night program, so people get the chance to experience what Tennessee is like at night and go on a night hike. And we explore rivers and ponds and lakes. And what you do is going to, the kind of what you do in a particular class might depend a little bit on where you take the class. For Owl's Hill, we're in Williamson County, and remember, there's not a lot of water bodies in Williamson County. So for the water class, we'd explore creeks and ponds. If you go to the chapter near Reelfoot Lake, if you are a student at that chapter, you probably will explore a lake habitat. And then the other part of the program is volunteer service. So students are expected to complete those 40 hours of coursework, but also 40 hours of volunteer service. And students are able to tailor their volunteer experiences to their interests. If you're interested in gardening, wildlife rehabilitation, in becoming a school program docent, people seek out, and we help, and your chapter coordinator will help you get connected with opportunities that interest you. And you can volunteer at your home chapter. Many of our longtime volunteers at Owl's Hill came to us through the Tennessee Naturalist program. Or you can volunteer at community organizations near you, or that if you're already connected with one, as long as it fits the scope and the requirements for Tennessee Naturalist volunteer service, then you can continue to volunteer there. So part of the Tennessee Naturalist program, and this is a program, it's very similar to naturalist programs in other states. Most have these programs and have the coursework and volunteer experience requirements. And then once you've completed that, you're considered a certified naturalist. This isn't the same as earning a degree or getting a certificate program, but this is something that is recognized. If you go to state parks or nature centers, a lot of people have heard of this program and know that if you are a certified naturalist, that you've met these certain requirements of completing your 40 hours of coursework and your service, that you've had this experience and you've learned from experts. And then we do continue to recognize our TNP students who continue to stay involved and hit milestones for service and continuing education. We want you to stay involved, as a volunteer, and also to keep learning through these programs where you're able to, continuing education programs like the Wildflower program at Long Hunter State Park is a really popular one for TNP students, just as an example of what might count as continuing education. And through all this, our students learn those skills of observation and identification. You get the groundwork for this in this program. When you go through the program and you've gone through like the forests and trees class, you'll have learned some principles of identification, and that's enough to get you started on, okay, now I can start seeing what to look for and how to learn to identify trees. But, some other things is learning stewardship, how to care for habitats, how to inspire care in others and share that knowledge. And a lot of students do tend to have a thing that they love to do. Some get really into native plant gardening or becoming a trail guide. You're able to kind of tailor your experiences to your interests once you've completed the core courses. And as I was preparing for this program, I reached out to some of our Tennessee Naturalist students and I asked them to write a little bit about what the Tennessee Naturalist program has meant to them. And I got a couple of responses that I loved. Paul talked about, and I put the picture of the nuthatch because Paul has really taken to birding since he's joined the Tennessee Naturalist program. And he's really learned a lot about bird identification. And he talks about how it's enhanced his life, and he's more aware of the interconnectedness of the natural world. And he showed what a lot of people express is, concern that people aren't getting out in nature enough, and that he loves being able to share nature with people and give them a reason to get outside and to be excited about the outdoors and learn the value of the natural world. And then I had another student. She's actually, Paul is a current student, and Joanna was a student in, I believe, one of the first classes. She finished in 2021, so I think the second TNP class. And they're both students at Owls Hill, and she has really gotten involved in a lot of native plant gardening, but she also writes a blog called Sidewalk Nature, and she encourages everyone to check it out and see nature as something as not out there, as something that you go visit, but something that's in your backyard that you can see from the sidewalk. And once she feels that once you start seeing nature as something that's near you and part of you and that you are a part of, that the things you do, you start seeing how that affects the natural world, and it affects your decisions and what you do. And something that she talked about was learning this connection. She provided a picture of passion flower vine and the butterfly that lays its eggs on the passion flower vine. And she said, it blew my mind to learn that butterflies need a certain plant, like the Gulf fritillary butterfly needs the passion flower vine in order to survive. And she loves being able to share that with her family, and she actually volunteers at an elementary school helping to connect kids with native plant gardening. So, and we have students who share wildlife and do wildlife ambassador programs through other not-for-profits, who do wildlife monitoring. We have students who do all kinds of things. Just they find this thing that they love, and they really are able to go for it. And if this sounds like something that you're interested in, there's some ways to learn more about the Tennessee Naturalist program and see if this is something you might be interested in. And Owls Hill program, our registration will open in July. If you want to get the exact date, I encourage you to go to our website and sign up for our email newsletter. And then we usually publish the exact date of registration opening on that, and on this the link to owlshill.org/tn.naturalist or -naturalist. And we also post our curriculum there, and I encourage you to look at the curriculum, look at the dates, see if that works with your schedule. Our classes begin in August of 2021 and will run until May of 2022. So there are 10 classes. We usually run about one class a month. Other chapters do it differently. They might do it a class every weekend for a shorter period of time. So if you're looking at another chapter, look at their schedule and see if that works for you. The website for the parent organization is tnnaturalist.org, and that's where you can get links to other chapters, to more information about the program as a whole, and also see about the chapters near you. And then there's always contact information for the chapter coordinators, so don't be shy about reaching out to us. We love to talk about the program. If you're involved in this program, you love seeing people wanting to join, and I love it when people say, I want to be a Tennessee naturalist, because I actually did go through the program a few years ago when I first moved to Tennessee, and I can definitely say my testimonial is I loved it. I had such a great time. I learned so much about this state that I was new to. And I also, one of the great things about the Tennessee Naturalist program is connecting with people who are just as excited about turning over logs and finding salamanders and finding that first spring wildflower as you are. And if you are curious about Owl's Hill and want to visit us or support us, we are open Monday through Saturday. We're closed on Sunday for self-guided hiking. We have about 5 miles of trails. You can purchase a day pass online for $5 a person and come out and explore. Because we are an independent, not-for-profit, we do charge a small fee for admission to be able to continue to support our programs, maintain our trails, care for our animal ambassadors. If you want to experience our education programs, check out our website and see our education programming. We have programs about mushrooms and owls. We have fall color hikes and programs about bats. Lots of things to explore and learn about, and a lot of them are all ages. If you're for kids, families, adults, I have seen people of all ages come to our programs and just have a blast. If you're a scout leader or a teacher or an educator, we have field trips and scout programs, and we rely on community support through volunteers and donations, and that helps us maintain our gardens and keep our programs running. And always reach out to us if you want more information. We love hearing from people who want to come out and experience Owl's Hill or learn a little bit more about us. All right, so I was thinking how to get people excited about becoming a naturalist and see if being a naturalist is for them. So my challenge to you is for the next 3 days, I want you to be a naturalist and see if it sticks. So take 15 minutes each day to observe the world around you. You can do this at a local park around where you live. It doesn't matter how close or far you are, and you don't have to do it in the same place every day, but just take 15 minutes and observe and write down 3 observations each day. They can be as detailed or as simple as you want. If it's 2 sentences, that's plenty if that's all you want to write. So I want you to see at the end of 3 days, did you notice something you had never observed before? And see if this changes your perspective a little bit. Do you see things in a different way? And this to me is the backbone of being a naturalist, is going out and looking and saying, that's blooming now, or I think the birds in my yard have started to sing, or I've never seen a bug quite like that before. And if you're interested in learning more about the natural world in Tennessee, or becoming a naturalist, or just becoming even informally a more keen observer, I have some resources. have some websites, and I believe that there are going to be links in the chat to all of these. So, Owls Hill and the Tennessee Naturalist program are great resources. If you're interested in wildlife, the Tennessee Watchable Wildlife page has information about some of the animals of Tennessee, from invertebrates to birds to mammals to reptiles, and also hotspots for wildlife watching. The Tennessee Native Plant Society supports education and native plant conservation in Tennessee. Another great website for learning more about the natural history of plants is the Missouri Botanical Garden. Anytime I want more information about a plant, a lot of times I go there, especially if I'm looking for range information or natural history. I love the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. They have such a great resource in All About Birds. And that's great for people of all ages who want to learn more about bird identification. And I included Bug Guide because it's an online field guide for arthropods, and it's an incredibly huge and sometimes confusing group of creatures, but Bug Guide makes it really simple and fun, and it's also just fun to go on there and learn about insects. And if you're interested in some virtual citizen science, Zooniverse has programs where you can kind of dip your toe in. They'll have things like looking at a set of images and that come from motion-activated cameras and identifying the ones that have animals in it. That's an example of a project you might find on Zooniverse. Sometimes that can also be digitizing records. And I love apps for exploration of the natural world. I know a lot of us are trying to spend less time on our screens, but these are ways to enhance your exploration with something that you already have in your pocket. iNaturalist is great for citizen science, for recording observations, and those are used for a lot of informal and for research purposes. There are people who write their PhDs, including that, and they include data that they gathered through iNaturalist. If you visit Owls Hill, I would love it if you would upload some iNaturalist observations. As long as your observations are geotagged, they will automatically go into our project. If you're looking for something that has iNaturalist has a artificial intelligence identification feature built into it, and then they also offer Seek, which is kind of the pared down version. It's geared towards children, but it's not just for kids. I use it a lot actually when I'm like, if I'm weeding the garden and I'm wondering, what is that? Is that a weed? Or what kind of weed is that? I'll use that. Or if I'm just out and I'm wondering what that is and I just want a quick answer. eBird is great. It's a great citizen science app. A lot of that data is really important in bird conservation, and you can just use it on your smartphone and upload that. I believe that also goes to the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. If you want to have an app that teaches you bird ID through looking at size and color and habitat of birds, Merlin Bird ID is great. It takes you down a checklist to help you, and then gives you a list of possible birds. Plant Snap, and then someone was telling me about Picture This, are both the artificial intelligence plant identification. And one that is relevant right now. Now, we don't have a huge emergence of Brood 10 in our area, but we actually are going to have a big cicada emergence in a couple of years. I believe it's 2024. Cicada Safari. If you're in an area that's having a cicada emergence, you can upload your observations through this app, and it goes to Mount St. Joseph University in Cincinnati, and they use that to track periodical cicada emergences. If you're like me and you love to read, I've included a Goodreads list that has a lot of classic and recent naturalist writings. There are excellent books that about learning more about observing nature, appreciation, the different ways to understand and appreciate nature, and how to kind of affect positive change in the world around you. And naturalists are never without their field guides. And a lot of apps are available, or a lot of field guides are available as apps, but also for some of us, nothing beats that stack of field guides in your desk, on your car, on every surface in your house, probably. And, you know, I try and pick a couple different kinds because they'll each teach you something a little bit different. So Audubon, Sibley, Stokes. I always encourage people to find a couple that they like, and then try something new. And there's a field guide for just about everything. We have one at work that's just for caterpillars, one that's just for skulls, fossils, whatever you're interested in. Even if I have one that's a guide to nature in winter, which is really fun. And then there's also one that I really recommend is Wildflowers of Tennessee, put out through the Tennessee Native Plant Society. That's good for this region. And then if you want to try dichotomous keys, which are where you have a series of either or questions to help you identify something. I really like the Finder series, and I have some pictured here, the Nature Study Guide, and they're really simple to use dichotomous keys. If this is something that's been intimidating to you, I really recommend giving these a try. So if you want to get to find out more about Owl's Hill, here's our social media and our website. And then I'm really excited to hear what questions people had about the Naturalist program, about Owl's Hill. So I'm more than happy to take questions for a bit. Thank you so much for joining us, for joining us today to learn more about this program and about Owl's Hill and a little bit of the natural history of Williamson County.
Well, thank you so much, Laura. My gosh, your enthusiasm is addictive, and I hope we all are inspired to go out and become naturalists and register for the class. So if anyone has any questions, we are open now for questions. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So there we go. Time for questions. Jack, did you have a poll that you wanted to put up?
Okay, here goes the first poll question. Are you seeing that?
Yep, I see it. Have you attended any nature-based programming at a park or nature center?
Okay.
Well, say yes or no. And while everyone is answering that question, if anyone has a question for Laura, go ahead. And I don't see any questions that have popped up through the comments area. So if you want to open up your mic or, I don't know, raise your hand and let everyone know that you want to ask a question.
Laura, excuse me, Laura. I went to the Naturalist site and it looks like it says it's full for 2021. Do you know when you might be setting up the next round for classes?
So Owl's Hill, so the chapter that is registering right now, I believe that their program is full. Owls Hill has not started registering students for the 2021-2022 class. We won't start until July. It's usually a date in mid-July. We'll have that on our website and in our e-newsletter. So all our spaces are still open, and we'll have 2 sessions, a Thursday and a Saturday session. And so our enrollment currently, I think we'll be able to enroll 15 students in each session. But I do recommend, as soon as registration opens, enrolling as soon as possible. The classes do tend to fill up.
Okay, if we want to see the results of the first poll here. Can you see those results?
Yeah. So it looks like most people have attended some nature-based programming, and I think that that's, I think that it's a great way to explore your interests and get connected with parks and with people who are excited about sharing nature. But I also, I know the value of just getting out and exploring on your own as well. Because I'll always encourage people to find the thing you love and do it. If it's observation or learning to tell all the oak trees apart or whatever it is.
There's so much to learn, so much.
I think we've got most
specialized in.
We've got the votes in here, so let's see what the results look like.
Spend more time outside, either at home or at a destination. Very nice. Then we got 30% learn identification, and then 10% get involved in conservation at home or with an organization. And of course, try to do all of them. Okay, anyone else have a question? So Laura, you stated that the classes are about 4 hours long. Are they a half on in a classroom and a half out in the field?
Yeah. So for example, with the Living Waters class, the learning about the water systems of Tennessee, we'll have a 2-hour lecture about the different bodies of water, what aquatic life is in Tennessee, and talking about some of the indicator species of what tells you the health of the body of water. And then during the field class, we would go to a lake or a creek or a pond and then actually do a survey, get out dip nets and have, tubs of water and, see what you find in there, try and identify it. That's always one of the really fun field classes. I mean, I think that they're all fun. That's actually our next class. So I'm kind of thinking about, having the nets ready and getting everyone out in the creek so they can learn to, identify and see what's out there. And then we'll talk, once we've seen that, talk about what does this say about the health of a stream. In the bird class, we'll learn about the biology and ecology of birds, and then do a bird walk and, do kind of a mini bird count.
That sounds like so much fun. And it's always better when you know what you're looking at when you're out on a hike and you can identify all the different flowers and plants. So I think it's worth for everyone to try.
And I think it's great to get that information, and then it, kind of the pop-out effect. I know what that is now. So now when I see it, I can't stop seeing it.
Very good point. Very good point. Hey, does anyone else have a question? I think we have something in the chat. Let me see. Nope. Great talk. when will the times for the next class be available? So you already answered that. Did you say next month, or it's in June?
Yeah, we generally post our class schedule in June.
Okay. So Cindy Witt said, thanks. Oh, Owls Hill is a great place and recommend the Tennessee Naturalist program. So you already have a fan, or someone who's already taken the class. Okay, well, I think that we're done with the questions. So let's move on. So I know Laura already explained this. It's just reiterating some simple ways that you can be a naturalist. One is, slow down, be calm in your mind and body, and to put you in the optimum state to observe. Use your senses consciously, shift from what is happening in your head to your surroundings, connect with the nature, and then look things up. Build a routine to research what you find. Write them in a notebook so you can refer to them later. And here's just some simple things to bring with you. I know most of the time hopefully you'll just go out your front door and you'll be able to research. But when you go on a long hike, make sure you take your backpack. There's some essential things like your nature journal. Bring a pencil or pen, or maybe a notepad on your phone. Binoculars, a monocular, or a loop. And then if you need to capture some insects so you can observe them more closely, of course, never forget your first aid kit. And a ruler comes in handy to measure things accurately so you can put them in your nature journal. And then, water and snacks, those are basics, and your field guide. And, prior to Laura's presentation, I never even thought about, we are advancing so much. Why not have all of your Naturalist apps loaded on your phone? So when you go out, you don't have to carry a bunch of books. You can just open up your phone and find out what an item is. Makes it so much faster. So, all right. So let's talk about next month. Next month, our program is on June 10th, and make sure you look in your email. There's a newsletter that goes out from Sierra Club on the Facebook site and Twitter and Instagram. We have a special guest from the Sierra Club. His name is Kent Minot. He is the Sierra Club Tennessee chapter transportation chairman, or committee co-chair. He's going to talk about the initiative to encourage cities and counties to convert their public transportation to electric vehicles. For instance, school districts buying electric school buses, public works converting their garbage trucks to electric garbage trucks, and then metro and county transit centers to convert to electric buses. And he stated that Knoxville has already gone committed to that and is trying to convert all of their buses to electric by 2030, which is really down around the corner if you think about it. These are big initiatives, but they will save them a lot of money in the long run. So please join us on June 10th at 7 p.m., which is our standard second Thursday of every month, and learn more about electric public transportation. All right, so our closing thoughts are from our leader, Executive Committee Chairman, Antoinette Olison, and we will read the thought that she wanted to share to all of you. And it is by biologist Rachel Carson. The real wealth of the nation lies in the resources of the earth, soil, water, forest, minerals, and wildlife. So I thank you all for joining us, and please come back and join us next month. And we're gonna leave this session open for about 20 minutes. So I know many of you know each other and would like to chat. So we're gonna end the presentation here and thank Laura. You did a fantastic job on your presentation, and you are definitely an inspiration to all of us to become closer to nature. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was great to come and kind of virtually share Owl's Hill and the Tennessee Naturalist program.
We hope you have enjoyed this program. The links that were mentioned are in the description below. If you would like to review any portion, click on the chapter lists in the description. We look forward to seeing you again next month.